Welcome to the Laser Bear Industries mode mount. This provides you with the ability to mount the mode into the Dreamcast while also providing a SD card extension connection at the top of the opening on the Dreamcast, and while still being able to use the hard drive on the mode itself. So you can see here I just have a standard 2.5-inch hard drive plugged into my mode. It has all the games that I care about, but what happens when you have the system completely assembled? Well, it's kind of hard to take it all the way apart, pull the screws out of the mode, pull the hard drive out, and copy your data onto the hard drive. And it's just a little bit more convenient to have an SD card available to you. So to start this off, we're going to build the top section. So if you order an assembled kit from us, this part you don't have to do. This will come put together by us, but this is just kind of an informational thing, show you kind of how to do this part if you buy the kit from us. So in your kit you'll get an SD card extension. This one is a little bit different than our other ones, that in order to make it compatible with the mode and in the Dreamcast, because if you don't, you're pushing your extension cable against this heatsink, which gets really warm while the console is running. So to start off with, we need the extension ready to go. So you just take it out of the box in the little plastic baggie it comes in. The extension will just snap into the hood. So this is the hood for the extension, and it just kind of snaps in place. You're going to look for this side here to be pretty much flush with the extension itself. So once that's in place, you can just set that part into the print. It should sit in nice and neat. And then there is the backer board for that, and that just sits right over top of it. It kind of snaps in place, but you still need to put 4 screws into it. So that's going to be these little screws. So these are all M2 by 6s, which will come in your kit. You'll have 4 for this portion, and then 4 for attaching this mount to the middle base for the mode. So you just run your 4 screws in. I'm using this little DeWalt hand drill. It's quite handy. We have a few different ones of these here at Laser Bear for our projects and products. Makes assembly just so much easier to have a little hand tool or a power tool that does a lot of the work for you. So you get all 4 of these screws in. Alright, now that they're in place, the next stage is to get the light pipe prepared. So I always give myself a nice generous point to my light pipe just to make it fit through. So with a pair of side cutters you can just kind of go in there and give yourself a good point to help push it through, which I don't think I actually cleaned that out. Let me grab a reamer tool real quick. All of our prints will come reamed out, so that's not going to be an issue people run into. So you don't need to do this portion. This is just something that we do with our finished prints, just to make sure that the holes will fit the light pipes properly. Because no matter what you do, you're never going to get a print wall that is 100% perfect every time. It's just kind of how it goes. Another nice point on this end to help with assembling the bottom portion. I didn't have any red ones of these printed yet, so I just have these blue ones I'm going to toss in to show off. So these are just the buttons. They just pop into place like so. They can only go in one direction. So after that's done, we can pop the light pipe through the base. Alright, once you've got the light pipe in place, what I usually do is I get one of the screw holes lined up. So there's 4 screw holes on this one. So you get one of the screws tossed in real quick, just to kind of hold everything in place. You don't want it 100% tight, but you want it tight enough that you can use it to kind of leverage the rest of the body in place to line up the screws. Because there's going to be a little bit of tension on the light pipe. And just like that, get your screws secured. Now this part is universal between the Saturn and the Dreamcast version, so there's going to be a screw hole that doesn't line up, and that's fine. It just is there. It isn't going to hurt anything. It's just part of making something that is functional with a couple different versions of the kit. So check your buttons, make sure that they are popping up and down easy. Once you got that done, take your flush cuts and just give a good nice flush cut to that light pipe. This will give you a good, oh, I popped the light pipe out. Give you a good little surface for your light pipe to have a nice flush surface to connect against the LED on the mode to kind of pop that LED info up. And you can pick any of the 3 LEDs for the light pipe when you put yours together. Alright, so now we have the top section assembled. So you'll want this to come through this little gap here in the middle, which probably should have done before, but I mean, it's easy enough to get it through, so it's not a big deal. So we'll set that aside. The next stage is to install the base bracket. So I know that there's probably quite a few people out there that don't have the original screws from their drives. They may have installed like a GDMU or something along those lines over the years that they didn't keep the screws for. So we are including in this kit 3 replacement screws for attaching this to the Dreamcast. So all you have to do, pull your drive out if it's a drive, pull your GDMU out if it's a GDMU, pull your USB DRAM out if it's USB DRAM. Whatever was in here, just remove from that section. And then this bracket just kind of fits right over where the original drive sat. Set it down, lines up with all the different spots. And then you take your 3 screws that are included with the kit, or if you have them still, please reuse the original ones. They are going to be a little bit better for this application. These ones aren't exactly the same, but they are close enough. They have the same thread pitch. They're just a little bit thinner in the center diameter because these are a standard instead of a metric. It's kind of weird, but seems to be more than adequate for this application. So once that base is in place, your mode board will go plug right into this jack right here. There's this nice mating connector here. Make sure you get that part in properly, because that's really the most important part, getting that nice and snug in there in the position that it should be. So now we have the extension itself. Actually, You know what, it's probably going to be a little bit easier to put that extension in first because there's not a lot of space in here. So this extension is a little different. Like I said, it has this little bit of kind of like a tape that goes around to protect the contact pins. So you want to make sure that those contact pins are safe. So when you go to plug this in, go kind of tilt it up at an angle. If the tape at the top gets damaged, that's not as important as the tape on the bottom. So if you have it up at a little angle, the bottom tape is going to be more protected, which is what you want. And then just like that. So then wrap it over, and you're going to have a fold kind of right in about here-ish. Doesn't have to be perfect positioning, you just give yourself a nice fold. And then you can take the whole module, place it back over the spot, snap her into place. Once that's in place, there's just 4 screws that have to be inserted. So there are 3 of these longer black oxide screws. So you put those into these 3 locations, and then the final screw is this much smaller zinc screw, and that one goes into that position. I somehow lost my button. Hold on. Okay. All things to look out for when you are assembling yours. Just make sure that all the bits and pieces are kind of in place and going in the right direction. Now these screws are super long, and the reason for that is it gives a lot more material for the screw to engage with, making it a lot harder for the print itself to get damaged from assembly. And just like that, everything's secure in place. Buttons are functional. We just take our top cover. I usually have the top lid open when I put it back together. With the Dreamcast, there's a few spots that you have to kind of make sure get lined up. So one of them's the power supply power jack. So you just want to make sure that lines up, and then come back to your front. The cover here can usually tilt in and out a little bit, so you just want to make sure that everything lines up, comes closed, and all said and done, you have a Dreamcast with a SD card that can be presented right at the opening. Super simple. Anyway, thank you for checking out the Laser Bear Mode Dreamcast mount. As always, this is available at laserbear.net. This will also be an open design where you can download the model files and create your own. So this has definitely been a long-running project. It's taken a lot longer than expected, but I think the outcome has definitely created something that looks and feels really nice for assembly. The mode's definitely not the easiest product to design mounts for, just because of how massive the board is and how little space is actually inside of these consoles once you start getting something that is that physically large into the space. But overall, I think the product's great. The mode has a lot of potential to it, and they've already done a lot with it. I mean, we've seen great menus, and updates are still very frequent, and they even announced that the mode's going to be supporting another console variation, so it'll be interesting to see how much further they take the mode, if there's going to be more consoles supported by it, or if they we'll be doing anything else in the same regards. Well, thank you guys for checking out the video. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Discord. We have a ticketing system if you have issues with your orders. As always with these, we stand behind the product. Damages and shipping, damages from assembly, we have always taken care of these things.